Hi, this is Kathy Piech-Lukas with Your Dream Day. Today we are going to be talking about bouquet and flower preservation. And I have a special guest, Sebra from the Rambling Florist. Hi, Sebra. How are
Hi,
you?
Kathy. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Tell us a little bit about your business and how you came to be.
Absolutely. So, at the Rambling Florist, like you said, we focus on wedding bouquet preservation and flower preservation in general for any, like special occasion, focusing on weddings, obviously, specifically. And a little bit how we came about was I've been in the florist industry in and out for a couple of years now. It's a job I really love doing. So I knew that I wanted to be back in the floral industry in some capacity. And that really started out with a pipe dream of like growing my own flowers and being like a flower farmer, florist. But I live in a two-bedroom apartment right now. And so I don't have any space for that at the moment. So that's like a dream maybe in the future. But was just scrolling on Instagram one day and I saw that a really lovely woman in Utah actually she was doing bouquet preservation and I was like, ah, it like clicked, like this is something I could do in my home. I have all of the experience as like an artist and a designer in my field. So I was like, this is just what I think I want to do. It's, in part of the wedding industry, but also in the florist industry. And I'm connected to, flowers in that regard. So that's kind of a short and sweet way of how it all started.
That's amazing. So you were really inspired by what others were doing online, and you're like, I can do that
Absolutely.
too, and bring
Yeah,
your artistic talents to it. That's
for sure.
amazing.
Thanks.
So, what are the different types of bouquet preservation that are available?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two different types right now. So there's one that's very common is the pressed flower bouquet preservation. And basically, I'm taking your flowers, I'm dismantling them and putting them into like a traditional press, which, takes quite a long time. It takes about, 3 to 4 weeks, depending on Mother Nature and how she's feeling, depending on the weather, basically, and how long things dry. And those, become very flat in the press, right? So once they come back out of the press, I'll reassemble them, excuse me, and put them in between basically two sheets of glass, what we call like a float frame. And so that's a typical pressed flower arrangement. And then the second one is just a traditional drying process. And so I can either take your bouquet and dry it upside down, or I can also use a method with silica sand. And that's basically I'll take the heads of the flowers and I'll put them in basically a drying agent that will, suck out all the moisture. And for the drying process, I'll do those in shadow boxes. So those have a little bit of depth in them. And I'll reassemble them kind of based on like the style that you like. So a lot of my brides do like a traditional bouquet style, which like looks like you're looking on top of the bridal bouquet. So those are the two different kinds of styles I have at the moment.
Now, do you have like what happens if you get a bride's bouquet and let's say there's a flower that's being temperamental and it doesn't
Mm.
preserve correctly? What do you do?
Yeah, so yeah, as you know, flowers are temperamental and they typically only last a day after the wedding unless you preserve them. But yeah, those flowers, unfortunately, I have to usually compost. So I'll take what I can use out of the bouquet and do my best with what I've got, basically. So I always recommend to my brides 1 to 3 days at most. They need to get me their bouquet, otherwise, we don't know what's going to come out of the press, basically.
Absolutely. Well, whenever I do wedding planning,
Mm,
are you planning to preserve your bouquet is on my list of questions that I'm asking them 6 to 8 weeks before the wedding. And it's for that exact reason. The sooner
definitely.
that you can get your bouquet to the person preserving it, the better it's going to turn out
Mhm.
because the flowers are still alive, so to say.
Absolutely. Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah, the fresher the better.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So price wise, what does a service like this cost?
Sure. So I have a range of prices. I would say like the minimum that I do for like the drying process is about 375 and I go up to about 550 and that's like my largest frame for pressed florals. And the largest frame is about 6 by 20.
Mhm.
And the price range is there only because like pressing takes a lot more of my time and abilities versus like the drying is a little bit like hands off, so it's not as complicated, basically.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
So what does a couple do if they decide, yes, we want to preserve our bouquet? What are the next steps? How does this work? How does this whole process work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I ask all my couples if they're ready to, preserve, to look at my availability on my website. I do book out usually almost a year in advance, or have availability to do that. I recommend 6 weeks to about 8 weeks, like you said, before your wedding date. If sooner, the greater, the better. So if you have your event date available on my site, you go ahead and purchase your frame. It's really easy. Check out. I'll get of course, your frame purchase. I'll email you with confirmation. Then you like enjoy your special day, your big wedding day, and then after that, make sure you get me your flowers between 1 to 3 days. I also recommend to a lot of my brides and couples that you have a lot going on, so like give this task to like somebody you trust, like a bridesmaid, or your mom, or whoever's there to like drop it off or ship it to me. Basically, is probably best. And then I'll pretty much take over the rest of the hard work there. Pressing and drying again, like takes about 3 to 4 weeks. I will do a design. I'll send you a mock-up, and you'll agree to it, or we'll work on it together and collaborate. And then after that, I'll glue it and I'll get it back to you, so you have your nice piece of artwork, your wedding keepsake.
That's a great turnaround time, four
Yeah.
to 6 weeks. Because no, because I mean, there's a lot of different types of floral preservation, and some of them. I mean, I've heard people taking as much as 9 months to a year to get their pieces
Oh
back.
gosh. Yeah. When in the busy wedding season, the time frame does stretch a little bit. So the
Mhm.
drying is about 3 to 4 weeks, and it probably takes me about like on a really quick turnaround, like 6 weeks max. But if I'm booked up, which does happen, especially during the summer and the fall,
Mhm.
it will take me probably like max three months, 3 to 4 months. So there is, yeah, a little bit of a range of timing for sure.
Yeah, no, that's still a fantastic turnaround time.
Yeah.
Um, what would you say is some of the most memorable bouquets that you've ever done?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I did this one bouquet that was a fall wedding last year, and we did the silica drying method. And so I really love this bouquet because it was a bunch of dahlias, and dahlias are really hot right now. And they just came out like really stunning. Like the colors were just amazing. She had gold in her bouquet, which was like really charming and whatnot. And so we put it in the shadow box, and it just, I don't know, I use it all over my social medias because I'm just in love with that bouquet. The colors just were like, they blew my mind basically. So that was a lot of fun. I also have a soft spot for fall, so that helped. Um, and then another bridal bouquet that I did recently, we included their wedding invite into the frame, and I thought that was really special and like a unique touch that they added into it. Um, but her flower colors or wedding colors were blue and orange, and those just like the complementary colors just like really stood out. It was really stunning. And she had white anemones in it, and that's like a not so common flower, and they just like really popped. So I really love that one as well. That was a pressed flower arrangement, so that was a lot of fun.
Well, you bring up another point is with the bouquet preservation, they can also put accessories from the wedding day in their box. Like
Absolutely.
I've seen grooms put their boutonniere in the box before.
Hmm.
Like you had said, the invitation or the program. What are some other things that you've seen put into the bouquet preservation box?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of my brides love to include like their favorite photo that came out of the wedding day, and that's always special. I've done quite a few flower crowns that people. I'll usually dry them, and I'll also put in the little boutonniere as well. I think that one's really special. It's like a complimentary frame that you can include with the larger bouquet preservation. Um, I've had a few clients who have like charms on their bridal bouquet, so that's always
Mhm.
really sweet to add in like those little nice touches that are just like so sentimental to the couple. And besides that, you can also include like your like other frames outside of it. So I've had brides preserve as like a thank you gift for their bridesmaids, like their own bouquet with like a photo of them together, or your mother's flowers or grandma's flowers. So anything that really is like a sentimental like moment from the wedding that you can keep afterwards is really great. And I know people really love them and to give them out as gifts.
Mhm. No, I
Yeah.
love that idea. I mean, I'm just thinking of the halo that would have been on a flower girl. I mean, what a
Mm.
beautiful gift to give them after the wedding that they can hang in their
Yeah.
room. And then, 10, 20 years down the road, they can be like, wait a minute, I was an aunt, whoever's wedding.
Yeah,
that's the halo from it. What a great idea.
something very sweet. Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. What are some other things that you've been seeing as far as trends go in
Hmm.
flower preservation?
Oh, yes. There's like a triptych trend that's going around. So it's like three different frames where you'll preserve the bridal bouquet and probably like some smaller bouquets, like bridesmaids bouquets, along with it. So it's like this big, beautiful, like statement piece that you can have done. Um, Obviously, this year, like gold and reds are really popular. So I'm expecting that to be like a big trend as well. What else? Um, a lot of trends in the space are like having like vinyl, like your name and your wedding date kind of put onto the front of the shadow box or your float frame. Is just kind of a cute, little addition. Is like all the, your new name and your wedding date is kind of like moments that you get to keep and make it everything unique. So yeah, I think those are like off the top of my head, those were like the three that were like very trendy that I keep seeing popping up. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So, how do people find you?
Yeah. I have my website, the ramblingflorist.com. You can find me there. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, I guess LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn, though I don't think that's a very common place. I also have a listing on the Knot. You can find me there. Um, on this podcast. But yeah, all my handles are the Rambling Florist.com or at the Rambling Florist.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for sharing all these different like trends with bouquet preservation and how, couples can preserve their flowers. Because at the end of the day, at the end of a wedding, you have a dirty dress, dying
Yes.
flowers. You might have some leftover food, maybe some leftover cake, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're going to have your photos and that's it. So
Yeah.
20 years down the road, wouldn't it be great to have, your bouquet preserved intact, hanging on your wall so that you can relive those memories every single day?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for
Thanks for having me.
listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so that you can be up to date on the latest and greatest going on in the wedding industry. And as we talk with wedding professionals, learning more about, from our perspective, what you can do to help with planning your upcoming wedding. This is Kathy Piech-Lukas with your Dream Day. Happy planning.